Hi everybody, it's Tamara from Prairie Town Girl here in Etcetera's, and if you were here for my last video, we were making some journal covers from these boxes, and this is where we left off. So we've got our napkins covering the inside of the journal, and they're beautiful, but I feel like they're just a little too like in your face. They're a little bit too intense in color. So what I've done is I've just taken some acrylic paint and I've watered it down. Hopefully it's enough. I might need to put some more water in there. And I'm just going to go right over top of the napkins. And hopefully this shouldn't, yeah, I need more water. Just keep adding water to thin it out. And then I will take a paper towel and we'll rub it down a little bit too. So I've got one paper towel that's a little bit damp and one that's dry. And we'll just try to thin this out a little bit. And you still have to be a little bit gentle because the napkins are still a little bit fragile. There, that's better. You can't probably tell on camera, but it's quite transparent, and you can still see all those beautiful blue flowers without it being like super in your face. So let's do this other one. So now I need to let that dry, and while you're letting that dry, you can start to get your signatures together. So I think I'm just going to do 2 signatures in each book because I'm going to fill it with lots of pockets and things. And I just found lots of blank pages and coffee dyed pages and extra pages that I have left over from other kits that I've used, and an 8.5 by 11 print will fold and fit nicely in this book. So do a nice mixture of blank pages and printed pages and that kind of thing, and then once you have that together and the inside is dry, then we will add these to our journal. And I want these journals to be a little bit about layers and that kind of thing, which is not something I normally do much of, but I'm just going to add a little bit more stenciling on the inside using this new stencil and ink that I showed you on the first video. And I'm not going to go right straight on, I'm going to do it at a bit of an angle. And it doesn't have to be super dark. Let's just see. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. And you don't even have to do the whole stencil. I'm just using this flower part up here. And I'm not going to do the whole page because I am going to put a pocket across the bottom. And don't be afraid to flip your stencil around. Try it at a new angle. That's how you get more out of it. I think that's lots. Okay, before I go wash my stencil and do the same thing on the other one, I'm going to show you what I'm using for the pocket. So while this paint was drying, I made some, it's sort of like vellum paper. It's on another video, the video I learned this technique on, she calls it fruit roll-up paper, because that's what it feels like. And so I just took my Mod Podge and I put it, I slathered it all over this plastic sleeve, laid my napkin down. You can add a little more Mod Podge on top if you want. Let it dry, and then just peel it off. And what you're left with is a napkin that is thicker and has a lot, it's a lot more sturdy than it would be if it were just a regular napkin. And it has a little bit of a sheen on it, but that probably just depends on what formula of Mod Podge you used. I'm using the gloss. If you use the matte, you might get a different finish. So I like this because what we can do now is use it to make pockets that aren't going to tear easily when you put something in and out. So I am, let's see here, I think I'll use this section here. Yeah, that should work perfectly. Just cut that off. Yeah, you could double it over like that if you want it like super duper extra strong, but I don't think I need to do that. I think I can cut it here. And then that's going to be the top of my pocket. And again, it's just adding another layer of depth and texture and that kind of thing. You could use a different napkin for a different design to make it stand out more if you want to. Okay, so I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to take a little corner out here. Get something sort of like that. And then I will just fold in these edges. That should fit, yeah. Remember not to go too close to your spine because you don't want it to get in the way. But that will be perfect, I think. And you could even use some decorative scissors to go across the top because the napkin now has enough strength to handle that. I think all I do need to do is straighten my line out a little bit. It's a little bit crooked, just by a sliver. And then I'll just use some glue on those edges and stick that down. And you could use whatever glue you like to use. If it's a wet glue, a glue stick, whatever you want. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side so that I have a pocket on the front and the back. Okay, so now we are ready to put some papers on the inside, and I had to cut down the height of my papers a little bit, but they're pretty much ready to go. What I like to do, and you've probably seen me do this before, is I just take a spare book page. And I have lots of those because normally I make my journals by repurposing old books, and I just make a quick template of the spine. doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to help you find the center easily without measuring. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't enjoy measuring. So I just take my little paper template and I fold it in half. So there, I know there's the center. And then I'll fold it in half lengthwise as well to find the center this way. Now, I only have 2 signatures for this book. If you had 3, you would obviously divide it up accordingly. But I only need, and I think I can eyeball this, I just need to figure out where my 2 signatures are going to go on either side of the center. And I normally come in around an inch or so from the top. Ish. It doesn't have to be perfect as usual. And then I can either measure it if I wanted to, which I don't, or I can just fold it over and kind of find the same spot on the other end. And there's my template. Easy peasy. And then I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile for this one because I'm going through a box, but if you don't have a Crop-A-Dile, you can use a hole punch. You can just use an awl and just, poke your way through. And that would work too. But the Crop-A-Dile is just, it just makes life easy. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go with the smaller circle or punch. There we go. And my blue one, or it's not really my blue one, but my other one should be pretty close to the same. It's almost the same. I can just sort of scooch it a little bit. Okie doke. So I should probably mention the reason I can be so casual about all of my spine is because I'm going to cover it on the outside anyways, so nobody's going to see this. If you were doing an exposed spine where people are going to see your threads, I would be a little more careful about where I'm punching and measuring and all that type of thing, but this one I'm not too worried about that. So I want to put these fun printables from Caroline's Craft Tree in this one. These were left over from my design team project this month, or last month I guess it was, and I thought these blue ones went really nicely in this one. So I'm just going to do sort of the same thing. You could I could mark it, but I don't think I have to. I think I can just lay this down, and this will just help me punch my papers. I'll do those other ones in a second. So I'm just going to do a plain old pamphlet stitch, nothing fancy. This isn't a fancy journal. So sometimes I like to use embroidery thread to match, but on this one I'm just going to use this waxed thread. That's fine for this one because you won't really be able to see it, like I said. So I usually just sort of go twice the length to give me lots of room to tie it at the end. And because I am not wearing my glasses as usual, I'm going to use a great big needle so I can see the eye. And that's the nice thing with the wax thread too, is that it goes through quite quickly and easily. Alright, so I start in the center, I'm going on the left hand side of the holes, going through the center, up through the top. Oops. Through the center again, but make sure you don't stab through your thread, which I have done before, because it makes it difficult to tighten it at the end. So just try to stay clear of it. Might need to pull this one through a little bit. Ah. Oh, there we go. And then up through the bottom. And then just make it nice and tight and put a little bow in it. And of course it's up to you how much you want to leave. Sometimes I leave my strings on the inside long and I add little dangly things to them, and sometimes I cut them really short so that you don't really even notice them. Yeah, so now I just need to do that 3 more times. And of course, if you're just doing one book, you only need to do it as many times as you have signatures. And you're probably wondering, why is she doing 2 journals at the same time? And the truth is, I don't know why I'm doing 2 at the same time. I just had 2 boxes sitting there, and I was having so much fun collaging and stenciling and all of that that I ended up making 2 at the same time. So that's the only reason. All the pages are in, all the insides are done. Just 2 more steps on the outside and then we're done. So normally I use a crochet lace on the outside of my spines, but I'm trying to go outside my comfort zone and do different things. This isn't that far out of my comfort zone though. So I just am using this they call it lacy ribbon. This is a piece of eyelet, basically, on a spool. If you don't have something like that, of course, you can just cut a piece of fabric or use some lace. Use whatever you normally use and just glue that down to cover up that spine. I will say, if you're cutting fabric and you're not going to turn over the end or sew the end, it's really great if you have a pair of pinking shears, and that helps to make sure that the fabric doesn't fray. Okay, so I'm going to use some wet glue. This is from Scotch, and I like it because it's got this detailed sort of pen nib at the end. I just got it from Dollar Tree. It was not expensive. But I should say, be careful about how you store it, because mine was stored upside down in the cupboard, and I just noticed this morning that it was sort of oozing out into the cap. So, okay, so I'm going to go with that as my outside and just lay it down. Just tap it down. Depending on what kind of fabric, if you use fabric that you use, the glue might seep through. If it's like a really, really thin cotton or a lace, of course, it's going to seep through. But just sort of tap it down and get it on there. And we'll do this one as well. so the last thing we need to do is put some kind of a closure on this. If you remember, there's that little edge that's sort of folding over a little bit, and so we're going to use that. I'll show you on this one because it's folding over to the front here. What I think I'm going to do is something very, very simple. I am going to take my hole punch and punch a hole somewhere in about the center, and I can go back and use that template again to kind of help me figure out where that is. And I'll just put a little mark here. And I'm going to punch a hole. This one will be a little bit bigger than what I used before. And I'm going to put some hole reinforcers around that. Now you can either use purchased hole reinforcers, or I like to punch my own because I have this great punch from We Are Memory Keepers. And so that makes it fun because you can, I like to use book pages, but that's purely aesthetic. It's, whoops. Sometimes it's easier to put the glue on the surface instead of on the hole reinforcer. There we go. And I see this is gold. And I'm going to put one on each side. And I was just going to mention, I don't know, I think a lot of people have this hole punch, and eventually you figure out that this inner part, it doesn't come out when you punch the hole. It all gets stored on the inside in here. And they don't tell you this on the packaging at all. You have to go and look for this information. Oh, and look, you can see there's some that I just did. Oh, I don't know why there's so many, but yeah, and because if it fills up, it makes it really difficult to punch more holes with it, and then you just flip it back down to go back to punching. I don't know why they don't put that on the packaging though. Okay, and even though this one's flipping the other way, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. And then the very last thing is to add some hemp cording to act as a closure. And I think what I'll do is I will double this one up, make sure it's enough to go around and a little bit extra. And so it is in half. Put that loop at the end through the hole. And then just loop your strings through. And then this would just wrap around. And you can either do it that way, where it just wraps and then tucks under, or you could, sometimes you could separate the strings so that each one comes around a different way, and then they tie at the closure. There's one. There's one done. There we go. 2 journals made from things that you were originally going to throw into the recycling bin. I think they're really pretty considering, I mean, this is truly, these are junk. This is made from junk, except for these, of course. These are beautiful printables. But some of these pages are also just junk. These are some pages that are coffee stained, and some are tea stained, and some I actually stained with pickle juice, which was an experiment that did not go very well. But because the pages are, well, I mean, now that they've aged quite a bit, I don't mind them actually. They're a lot thicker feeling than the other pages. They don't smell though, which that's a good thing. I had hoped to get a bit of a green color out of them, but I did not. But there you go. So then my next step will be to decorate these, put in some pockets and some tuck spots and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. Right now they are naked, but yeah, I'm going to add some stuff, and then I will, maybe I will show you a flip through if you're interested. If you're interested, once I'm done decorating these, let me know in the comment section if you want to see them again. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. I think they're really pretty. So let me know what your thoughts are. If that gives you some ideas, I hope that inspires you to get creative and have some fun with all the stuff you already have in your craft closet. And I hope everybody, of course, is still staying safe here in Canada. I would say that we are well into our second wave of COVID right now, so I am still staying home, and obviously I'm still wearing a mask when I do go out, but not venturing out too much. So I am, when I'm not working at my desk all day for my job, I am in here working at this desk, crafting away. So I hope that gives you some ideas. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and don't forget to come over to my Instagram if you want to see some more projects that I'm working on, and I will see you all again really, really soon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.